So with dividing fractions, it's a little bit different than multiplying, but there's a lot of similar aspects that come into it. So when we think of dividing in general, dividing is a process of finding how many of the second number will fit into the first number. Right? So how many of the second number are going to fit into the first number? So we have like something like 4 divided by 2. We're trying to figure out how many times can we take 2 out of 4, or how many 2's are going to fit into 4. Now, when we deal with nice numbers such as these, we're going to get we're often going to get some like a nice value as well at the end, but it's not necessarily always the case. These ones are nice. How many 2's can we take out of 4? Well, that is 2. So in other words, how many 2's can be taken out of 4? That's really what it's asking. Okay, that's what we're trying to find, and we know that that value is 2. We've done that a few times, and we're able to solve that. Now, as with multiplying, fractions make things a little bit more complicated. So here we're doing 4 divided by 1/2. Well, how many 1/2s can we take out of 4? Again, this one we can think through logically. Okay, every 1 has 2 halves. So if we have 4, there will be 8 halves. Okay, so we can take 8 halves out of 4. That's how many we're able to take. So that's exactly what it's saying here. Okay, not all fraction problems are as straightforward. Okay, let's see how. Let's go through how do we solve this without having to just think through it logically. Well, 4 divided by 1/2 is what we're going to get here. Now remember, 4 is a whole number, so we can just make that into a fraction. And because we have that, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay, and I've made it into a fraction already. Now, again, first thing, just like with multiplying, we need to make sure that each fraction is in regular or improper form. No mixed numbers are allowed. So we have an improper fraction and we have a regular fraction, and so that's perfect. No mixed numbers in there. Now, the process that we use is often called multiply by the reciprocal. And I'm just going to highlight this really quickly here. Okay, so the process that we're using is what's called multiply by the reciprocal. Now, the reciprocal is just a fraction flipped around, meaning that if so I'm going to go down here to the bottom here. The reciprocal of these, so something like 1/3, what we're going to do is we're going to flip the top and the bottom around. So to make a reciprocal, we flip them. So the 1 goes on the bottom and the 3 goes on top. That's the reciprocal. Okay? Just like with this one here, this is a fraction as such. We can make it into a fraction, and the reciprocal is 1/3. Okay? It's flipped. Okay? That's the reciprocal. What we're going to do is we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So to divide, dividing is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. Okay? That's the process that we're going to use. So the first thing we do is we change the second one, always the second fraction. We change that to the reciprocal. So 4/1 stays the same. This one gets flipped around. So it's 2/1. And now we're going to multiply. So we're just multiplying by the reciprocal. 4 times 2 is 8. 1 times 1 is 1. So our answer is 8, just like we solved up here. Okay? Dividing is, the only thing different from dividing and multiplying is that one step to flip around that second one. Otherwise, everything is exactly the same. And again, make sure that you do that after you've made it into an improper fraction if you have mixed numbers. All right, so let's complete each expression here. And the first one I'm going to think through very, very logically here. 1/2 divided by 1/2. How many 1/2s can we take out of 1/2? Well, they're the same number, so the answer should be 1. Well, let's solve this here. 1/2 times the reciprocal, 2/1. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2. This is 1. Okay, if we simplify, right, anytime we have the same number over itself, the answer is 1. So anytime we divide the same number, or the number by itself, the answer will be 1. Okay, because we can take one of them out of there. Now, number 2 here, 5/6 divided by 1/3. So when we do this here, the first one stays exactly the same, and we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. 3 over 1. Now, a couple different ways that we can do this. We can solve it the way it is. We could simplify a little bit, as was shown in the previous lesson on multiplying. If we do end up simplifying, we can divide this by 3, and we can divide this by 3. And we're going to get, let me keep my same color here, 5 times 1 is 5, 2 times 1 is 2, and so we get an answer of 5 over 2, which would be our final answer. Okay, so how many times can 1/3 be taken out of 5 over 6? Well, 2.5 times. That would be our answer for that. Okay. Again, multiply by the reciprocal. If we can simplify, that's great. If we can't, then don't worry about it. Just to show this one without the simplifying ahead of time, 5 over 6 times 3 over 1, we're going to get 15 over 6. We can divide this by 3, we can divide this by 3, and this gives us 5 over 2. Again, same answer that we had right there. Final one, 1/2 divided by 8 over 9. So we keep the first one the same, and we're going to multiply. Again, remember that little dot means multiply. The reciprocal, 9 over 8. 1 times 9 is 9. 2 times 8 is 16. This one right here does not get simplified, as that is as simple as it gets as for the answer. Now, questions 5 and 6 are based on dividing regular fractions. There might be some whole numbers in there as well, but those two questions deal with dividing regular fractions.